Please sit. Good morning. How are you all? Thank God. We will sit, sing, and reflect on praise hymn number 57. Yehowa nyankopɔn honhom ne daa nkwati no. Wo nkwa no boro so no bi ntwa wo ho ban da. Wo nkwa nso sakra da. Woyɛ honhom agya wiase yi betwam. Ode utim hɔ daa. Yehowa nyankopɔn honhom ne dam ti no wo nkwa no boro so no bi ntwa wo ban o yeah oh yeah, oh home ejan. We are seeing betre would take harder. Ne ya wo ye na wo ne mpefi te na wo tna yen kome wo yen dream asem wo ne na Sitna niyen ama inso na wachera yena ashe uhum no Wonya sanso boro eso no ne ya de wonya sando boso rone asa yen aseje eche Yehowa sando woye nipan kwaje de Yesu ahone Wohom shia wohom woye ahotonya bebrebe iya woda wode kwapa ne home ni ade yenye naba maye na ye mi pe won a wochi wudo no to mi ye wo ye breye ho ase mawo a wo ye honhom ma ye mo wo mpa ye da wo honhom ne nokrem ye bue ye nkomem behwe yen behwe se emute na ma yen aninye wanim ho dabate. Ye bre ye ho ase ma wo awo ye ho ma ye mo wo paida wo ho hom ne no kware ye buwe koma yeshe se emote nama yenye niye wani hodan. Dear in Jesus' mighty name, amen. Dearly beloved, last week, the director, in leading the moment of reflection, took us through the first 5 chapters. And 3, the responsibility of Aaron and his sons. And finally, the ordination of Aaron and his sons as priests of God. So these are the areas I will be focusing on. The person of Moses, restitution as prescribed by the Lord, the responsibility of Aaron and his sons, and the ordination of Aaron and his sons as priests of God. So I'll begin with the person of Moses. If you look at chapter 6, verse 1, it begins with, the Lord said to Moses, and the other instructions followed. So in chapter 6, verse 1, that is the opening statement from the Lord. He said to Moses. And if you are not careful, this might be seen as the first time that the Lord was talking to Moses in the book of Leviticus. But the Lord started talking to Moses, giving him various instructions and laws from Leviticus chapter 1. When God called Moses to the tent of meeting. So in Leviticus chapter 1, verses 1 and 2, it reads, the Lord called Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying, speak to the people of Israel and say to them, the others follow. So clearly from chapter 1 through to chapter 8, verse 4, when Moses began to act on the word of the Lord kept speaking to Moses, and he silently listened to the Lord. So from verse 1, when he called Moses, he invited him to come so he would speak with him. Moses went, and the Lord started speaking. From chapter 1, verse 2, the Lord spoke through chapter 2. The Lord spoke through chapter 3. The Lord spoke through chapter 4. He spoke through chapter 5. He spoke through chapter 6. He spoke through chapter 7. And when he got to chapter 8, after 4, Moses started acting on what the Lord had told him. So in Leviticus 8, chapters 1 to 4, it reads, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take Aaron and his sons with him, and the garment and the anointing oil and the bull of the sin offering, and the 2 rams and the basket of unleavened bread, and assemble all the congregation at the entrance of the meeting. Verse 4 says, and Moses did as the Lord commanded him, and the congregation was assembled at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Moses said to the congregation, this is the thing that the Lord has commanded to be done. So if you look at it, you may be tempted to conclude that it is the first time the Lord was speaking to Moses. But the Lord started speaking to Moses, as I indicated earlier, in chapter 1, verse 1. And he spoke to Moses throughout. I wonder how many hours the Lord used in speaking to Moses. But between chapters 1 and chapter 8, 4, when Moses began to respond to the words of the Lord, he was quiet. Moses was just quiet. And the Lord spoke to him about a lot of things, giving him instructions, giving him laws, and giving him commands. So all this period, Moses was quiet. In chapter 1, the Lord spoke about offerings that we present to him, that must be presented to him. So the whole of chapter 1, the Lord was talking about offerings that must be presented to him. And Moses was quiet. He listened. In chapter 2, God spoke about instructions of offering grains to the Lord. And Moses kept quiet and listened. In chapter 3, the Lord spoke about instructions on offering of a sacrifice of peace throughout. And Moses kept quiet and listened. In chapter 4, God spoke about laws on intentional sin and how to deal with it. And Moses kept quiet and listened. In chapter 5, God spoke about laws about adjuration to testify and the consequences of not testifying, touching on carcass, laws on rash oath and guilt offering. All of that. And Moses kept quiet and listened. In chapter 6, God spoke about laws on sin and commitment of breach of faith against the Lord by a deceiving neighbor, instructions on the priest and offering, and the laws on sin offering. All of that in chapter 6. And yet Moses kept quiet and listened. In chapter 7, God spoke about the law on guilt offering, the law of sacrifice of peace, instructions on not eating fat or ox or sheep or goat. And he also gives a summary of all the laws of burnt offering, grain offering, sin offering, guilt offering, the ordination, peace offering, which the Lord had commanded through. And Moses kept quiet and listened. So what kind of man is this person called Moses? That is what we are considering. That the Lord calls him, he appears before the Lord, and the Lord started speaking, And he didn't obstruct the Lord. He kept quiet. He listened through, and through. And if you look at the things that the Lord kept telling Moses, voluminous, and yet he kept quiet and listened. What I seek to draw your attention to is that we need to bear in mind that, like Moses, walking with the Lord and being closer to him, to hear him speak to us requires serious commitments. Walking with the Lord and being closer to him to hear what he has to tell us requires serious, not just any commitment, but serious commitment. And Moses committed himself to some of these commitments. What are they? Number one, Moses' closeness with the Lord made God reveal his laws, his commands, and instructions to him at the tent of meeting. Moses' closeness with the Lord made God invite him to tell him about his laws, his commands, and instructions. And of course, being invited by the Lord to the tent of meeting was one thing that was a great privilege in itself, because the Lord found Moses fit to meet him. The Lord found Moses very fit to meet him, so he invites him, come and meet me. Until the Lord invited Moses to come and meet him, the tent of meeting was built by Moses outside the camp, far away, where he goes there to consult the Lord. And the Israelites, who also had issues, they wanted to consult the Lord. They also went to consult the Lord through Moses. And if you read Exodus 33 verse 7, it is there. It is there. Now Moses used to take the tent and pitch it outside the camp, far off from the camp, and he called it the tent of meeting. And everyone who saw the Lord will go out to the tent of meeting, which was outside the camp. So it was a great privilege for Moses not to go there to speak to the Lord, but God inviting Moses, come, let me speak to you. And I am saying that God invited Moses because, number one, Moses was so close to the Lord. And number two, God invited Moses because he found Moses fit, very fit, appropriately fit to meet, to reveal his laws, to reveal his commands, to reveal his instructions to. So he found Moses very fit. And so he spoke to him. You and I need to present ourselves fit at all times to meet the Lord when he wants to meet us. When the Lord desires to meet us, to tell us something, to reveal things to us, we must always be fit. Fit in all respects to meet the Lord. We must always be fit. We must always be fit. And because Moses was so fit to meet the Lord, and because Moses was so close to the Lord could speak to Moses face to face, like a friend. And if you read Exodus 33:11, it says, God used to speak with Moses directly and face to face, as a man speaks with a friend, and he heard him. And he heard him. So Moses, the man in question who is receiving all these instructions, all these laws, all these commands, which were to model the lives of the Israelites and the priests, he was so close to the Lord. And the Lord found him to be very, very fit. Very, very fit to talk to. And so he approached the Lord. Number 2, God trusted Moses to hear clearly and intelligently all the laws and instructions he was giving to Aaron, his sons, and the entire people of Israel. And to also ensure that the people responded to the word of the Lord. So again, the Lord called Moses to come so they could talk, because the Lord knew that Moses, whatever I say, he will hear me and hear me clearly, and he will hear me and hear me intelligently. So as the Lord spoke, if you look at chapter 1 when the Lord started speaking, as the Lord spoke, the Lord never paused to ask Moses, did you hear me? He never paused to ask him, did you hear me? Moses, can you repeat what I've just said? There is nothing, because the Lord knew that Moses was so intelligent that he heard him, or he could hear him clearly. Clearly. All the things that he tells him. And so he knew that Moses was not going to disappoint him in this regard. So he did not hesitate in communicating with Moses all the laws and instructions he had for the people. He trusted Moses to do his bidding. The Lord trusted Moses so well, to do his bidding for him. So I tell you, Moses, I want this, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. That is all. And the Lord knew Moses had heard him clearly and intelligently, and that Moses was actually going to do his bidding. I have always said that ministry is not for the dull people. Ministry is supposed to be for people who are intelligent. Because imagine Moses in this capacity, the Lord is talking to him and giving him instructions. These things the Lord was telling Moses, they were not joke. They were things that if he forgets one, a life could be lost. And the Lord was just telling him. Because he knew Moses was smart. And in this ministry, we need that virtue of being smart, being intelligent. Not formal intelligence, but you must be intelligent. You must be intelligent. If I were the one, if I were Moses, I am sure by the time he was done with chapter 1, verse 3, I will ask, but then Nana will come. I will ask. Because it was so strange that the Lord I think about it and I can't actually understand who this man Moses was. The Lord just kept speaking, spoke, and in chapter 8, verse 4, as soon as the Lord ended, Moses started rolling what he had heard out. What an intelligence. What a smart person. And the Lord knew. And so, like I said, in this ministry, we need to be smart. We need to be intelligent. We need to be ready for the Lord. And Moses was ready for the Lord. And so the Lord trusted Moses to do his bidding for him. I don't know if the Lord can trust you so much to do his bidding. There are some of us, when we even dream and we wake up, we have forgotten the dream. The dream that we in Ankasa we had. When we wake up, within that short space of time, we have forgotten. So if we were to be in the shoes of Moses, you can imagine. But the Lord will be our help. So we need to be intelligent. We need to be smart so the Lord can trust us. The third thing is that God was also sure Moses was going to be diligent in ensuring that the people adhere to all the laws and instructions he was giving them to obey. The Lord knew that these instructions I'm giving Moses, he is going to be diligent. Other than that, he will not give the instructions. Because the Lord was not interested in giving instructions for giving sake. I'm just giving to you. Moses, listen, I'm just giving the instructions. And he kept giving when he knew that Moses was not going to act on it. But the Lord knew that Moses was diligent. And he will ensure that the laws, the commands, and the instructions were obeyed. And truly, he did that. So diligence is also required in our walk with the Lord. Now, the fourth thing I want to talk about is Moses, again, was a good listener who waited on the Lord patiently for him to tell all that he had to tell him. He was not in a rush to go anywhere. It was the Lord who called him. And he patiently listened. And the Lord kept telling him things. So he was a good listener. And he patiently listened to the Lord as he spoke to him. These are virtues that we actually need in ministry. You cannot walk with the Lord and you are not a good listener. You cannot walk with the Lord and you cannot wait patiently on this God. As for God, he has time for us. So when he calls you or he engages you, he wants you. He wants your attention. He really, really wants our attention. But the question is, how patient are we in waiting to hear God speak to us? We are always fast to tell God the things that are on our hearts, such that when we even enter prayer, we don't have time to give enough thanks and adoration. But for this man Moses, all the things the Lord was telling him, he kept listening, a very good ear, good listener, and then he waited patiently. Nothing was drawing his attention from the Lord. He had come to the Lord to hear him speak. And that was exactly what he did. He gave the Lord his maximum attention. And he listened. And he listened. From chapters 1 to chapters 8, the Lord kept speaking. And Moses kept listening. What an amazing man. Moses is so amazing within this context. Again, the next thing is that Moses obeyed the Lord's instructions to the letter and committed everything the Lord had told him to do and became committed to it. He was a man of obedience. And so all the things the Lord told him, he obeyed. And he did not only obey, but he became committed to the things that the Lord told him. Because he knew that of the laws and the instructions that the Lord kept rolling out and rolling out and rolling out, In those laws, instructions, and commands lied their success. So he obeyed, and he committed to ensuring that they are also obeyed, especially those that concern the priest. He obeyed them. He obeyed them. And this is seen in how, in chapter 8, immediately the Lord had finished speaking to Moses. Immediately the Lord had finished speaking to Moses. He left the presence of God and he assembled Aaron and his sons and the entire people of Israel at the entrance of the tent of meeting to begin what the Lord had asked him to do. So this is somebody who was so serious with the Lord. He was so serious with the Lord. And he didn't want to leave anything the Lord had told him to chance. So he listened with rapt attention. And when he left the presence of the Lord, straight into action. And he brought them. So for Moses, the reason why the Lord called him and revealed all these things to him was that he was a man who was closer to the Lord. He was a man who was found to be fit to appear before the Lord. He was a man who heard the Lord, or who could hear the Lord clearly and intelligently. He was a man who did not disappoint God by listening to all the laws, all the commands, all the instructions, and then he didn't do anything about it. He was a man the Lord himself could trust to do his bidding for him. He was a man whom the Lord knew was going to be very diligent. Very diligent. And the Lord knew Moses was a very good listener. So he didn't care to pause to find out whether he was hearing. Sometimes you can be listening and yet you are not hearing. He didn't bother. He didn't bother. He knew Moses was an obedient man and will commit to the things that he was telling Moses. Oh, what an amazing minister of God. What an amazing minister of God. What an amazing minister of God. That God could engage for hours, uninterrupted. And he remembers everything. And he remembers everything. Can God count on you and I in like manner? As we go into our reflection, these are the areas I want us to pray on. Can God count on you, even as you are seeking to come into ministry, to reveal his things to you because you have so much time to wait before his presence? Or we don't have time. So we come to the Lord always in a haste. Always in a haste. Ready to hear some few things. And we don't bother to find out even if the Lord has ended. First, we go our own way. And can the Lord find us fit to invite us into a conversation? Remember, it was always Moses who was going to the tent of meeting to tell the Lord about things. But this time, it is the Lord who called this man Moses. And can the Lord trust us? And when the Lord speaks to us, do we hear clearly and intelligently? And to what extent have we been obedient and committed to the things that the Lord has told us? Sometimes the Lord tells us something and we are even not committed to do it. You are even not committed to do it. You look at circumstances. You have fasted for days, and the day you are ending, the Lord says, continue. The day you are ending, the Lord says, my son, you know how you hear God speak to you. And you feel so strongly the Lord is asking you to continue. But you will break. Because we need to build this relationship with God to a level that God will always find us fit. That is so important. He must always find us fit. He must always find us fit. And he must always invite us into a conversation. The second one has to do with, the second one I want to talk about is restitution as instituted by God. Restitution as instituted by God. Now, restitution simply means restoring something to its original state, or providing compensation for loss or damage, or paying back or making amends. That is restitution. It is paying back or making amends, or bringing or restoring or putting something back to its former state. In other words, if you have offended somebody and the sin has caused damage to the person, God expects that an opportunity will be created for you and I to restore the person. And he says this and he makes it law for the people. He says it and he makes it law for the people. And restitution aims at restoring balance and justice by making amends for harm. So anytime you have caused some harm to somebody, you can make restitution, restore the person. And the Lord instructed Moses on restitution. This is so amazing. The Lord instructed Moses on restitution. Leviticus chapter 6, verses 1 to 5. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, if anyone sins and commits a breach of faith against the Lord by deceiving his neighbor in a matter of deposit or security, or through robbery, or if he has oppressed his neighbor, or has found something lost and lied about it, swearing falsely in any of these things that the people do and sin thereby, if he has sinned and has realized his guilt and will restore what he took by robbery, or what he got by oppression, or the deposit that was committed to him, or the lost thing he found, or anything about which he has sworn falsely, he shall restore it in full, and shall add a fifth to it, and give it to him to whom it belongs on the day he realizes his guilt. This is called restitution. This is called restitution. It is called restitution. And God was so much concerned about restitution to the extent that he gives Moses an instructions about it. So he tells him, if somebody has defrauded, has robbed, has lied, has done those weird things against the neighbor, which automatically ends up being something against me, what is very important is for the person to come to the point of realization of having committed a sin. So he says in verse 4, if he has sinned and has realized his guilt, once the person comes to the realization that I have sinned by this act, I have committed wrong against my brother, then the person will have to embark on restitution and to restore. And the Lord adds benefits. You don't just restore. You add a fifth to whatever you have to pay to that person. So, God commanded that whenever anybody realizes their sins against their fellow human beings, they shall restore it in full measure and shall add a fifth to whatever they pay. It is important to know that it begins with realizing the guilt. That is very relevant to restitution. Else, it becomes an ordinary punishment for an offense. So the Lord commanded Moses as follows. If the person sinned and has realized his guilt and will restore what he took. So if the person sinned, number one. Number two, the person has realized his or her mistakes. And number three, the person is ready to restore. Then the person can go ahead. So realizing that I have sinned is one. Realizing that I want to restore is another one. And that what I've done is not correct. That is so important. And that is the command the Lord gives Moses. So it is not in all the areas that probably full restitution can be applied. Because there are some of the things that people do against us and they may not have to pay us anything. Some of them require just sincere apology. But for some of them, they require restitution. They require restitution. You have stolen somebody's money. You have stolen the government's money. You have stolen the church's money. And you have chopped. And now you say, I have become a child of God. It's fine. But the money is still there. You have chopped. And you have money. You are working. You have money. What must you do? What must you do? You must pay back. You must pay back. And that was so concerned to God that he spoke to Moses about it. He knew this is part of human life. So we need to think through life, think through how we have lived our lives, and see if there is any element of restitution that has to be effected. You need to search deep and find out if there is some restitution that has to be done. Then you go ahead and you do it. If you want to add a fifth, it's over to you. But restitution is so important. It's so important. I remember some time ago, I caught a catechist who had squandered money. Then he came, then I said, oh, this and this, you have squandered this money. Then he knelt, said, Papa, I beg you, it is the devil. Then I said, oh, I know it is the devil, but you know what? There is restitution. As for the money, dear, it must come back to the church. He said, Papa, I'll bring it. And he brought the money. And I prayed for him. And I said, this one, I've treated it pastoral. If it happens again, I'll not treat it pastoral. Please, we need to search through the hearts. By the grace of God, you are in ministry training to become a minister. But you are not free from some of these things. If the person are still around, the people are still around, they look at you, they are so angry. They are so angry because you offended them. They are so angry because you said you will marry them. After using them, you didn't marry them. You dumped them. And they are there. They see you. They are so mad. You cannot pay money, but if they demand money, you must pay as restitution. Because you brought it upon yourself. So we need to think, search our hearts deep. Deep. It is not for me. I think that it is not enough. We must not take things for granted. It is not enough to say, I have seen Jesus. I've seen Jesus, so I'm okay. You are not okay. If you have issues to settle, it is not okay. And that is why God gave an instruction to Moses on it. It is not okay. If really you have encountered the risen Lord, what matters to you is holy living. Embarking on restitution, you don't ask questions. Now, may the corner yes say here, if I go and he does this, he does this and that, that is not a concern to you. But you must be ready. You must be ready. You must be ready. You must be ready. For it is not enough to just say, I'm a born again, and you are okay. You lied. And as a result of your lies, some people lost jobs. They went through pain. And when they see you, they feel like taking something and hitting you. And you see them and you are running. It is not enough. Go and seek restitution. So we need to think as we reflect. We need to do a soul search, deep search, and ask ourselves if there are some forms of restitutions that has to be made because God spoke about it. He spoke about it. He spoke about it. Maybe there is a girl somewhere you have to look for and say, please, I'm sorry, forgive me. Maybe there is a guy somewhere you need to look for and say, please, I'm sorry, forgive me. Maybe there's a woman somewhere you need to look for and say, I'm sorry, forgive me. Maybe there's a gentleman somewhere you need to look for and say, please, I'm sorry, forgive me. Please, I am sorry, forgive me. A new 10 words, but if you are not careful, you can't say it. It's so important. It's so important. We need to do that. We need to do that to come to that level where emotionally, psychologically, physically, spiritually, you are free of all of these encumbrances. You are free from them. And it will take restitution. It will take restitution. Maybe during your youthful days, there was a pregnancy. You were afraid, so he said, me. It's never me. And truly, because in those days things were not like this, you were able to escape it. But you know deep down your heart, that is my child. And you are sitting here. That is restitution. Forget about the shame it might cause you, because you are not looking at earthly things. You are looking at your relationship with Jesus Christ and being right with the Lord. You have to trace your steps back and go and say, I'm sorry, I erred. I was afraid. They won't kill you. They won't kill you. But do things right before you go. If you are now married, tell your wife. That is where the restitution begins. Tell her that, please, I didn't tell you the truth. Before I married you, I have this, but I denied. I want to go forward. Can you help me? And I'm sure with prayer, God will touch your housewife, your wife's heart. It's so important, though. We need to ensure that we correct some of these wrongs that we may have committed. So it was a matter of great concern to God himself to ensure that we seek peace with him and with fellow humankind whom we offend. And so he instructed Moses about full restitution. Our relationship is both vertical and horizontal. And when we are able to build that vertical relationship with God, we must also ensure that our horizontal relationships are very correct. So search deep in your heart. As I speak, some of them you have remembered, or you may have remembered. And you are thinking of how to do it. Don't think about the how. Think about the fact that God is with you and he will help you. He will help you. They say it's the woman who is pregnant who knows the father of the children. I don't think there's somebody here who has this story. But if there is, restitution. Don't think about Mekano Jaime. Then you have not met this Jesus you are talking about. Think deep and set your heart and find out if there are certain things you need to restore. Not to restore to benefit from. Because as for the benefit, you have gone far away from it. But you are restoring to correct the wrong and to put things in their proper perspective. I've said that it is not enough to just say, God has forgiven me. It is not enough. When the people you offended, some of them very dangerous, they are around. It is not enough. Correct them. And God recommends restitution. May the Lord help us. The restitution didn't end with just paying the people. But look at what God also added. God also added an additional benefit to him, God. In Leviticus chapter 6, verse 6 and 7, it reads, "And he shall bring to the priest as his compensation to the Lord a ram without blemish out of the flock, or its equivalent for a guilt offering." So it means that if you have done something wrong with somebody and you have not looked for an opportunity to restore, once you think you have met Christ and so nothing matters, God is saying it matters to him. It matters to him. And verse 7 says, "And the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord, and he shall be forgiven." Once he pays the restitution, and once he offers the ram, the one that is not defective to me, oh, he's okay. He's okay. And so in some instances, restitution may not apply. But in some instances, it is relevant and it is real. And so let's search deep into our lives, into our ministry, and ask ourselves if there is something to be restored. If there is something to be restored. If there is something to be restored. Probably you raped. And you have not had the opportunity to meet this lady whom you see around to say, "I'm sorry." And the next time the lady sees you, you are in clerical. Think of restitution. Think of restitution. For it is not enough to pretend to have become a Christian and a minister when you have offended greatly. Seek forgiveness from people, and where applicable, restitution. What is important is seek forgiveness from people, and where applicable, restitution. For it is so important. It is so important. It is so important for us to do that. Then the third thing I want to talk about is that another area that I want to draw attention to is the fact that for all the sacrifices and all other commands and instructions, they were left for Aaron and his sons to ensure that those things were carried out. So Aaron and his sons were responsible for ensuring that all the sacrifices that will be done for or on behalf of the people, it was their responsibility to ensure that they carry them out. And so, the priest shall make atonement for the men who sin and commit breach of faith against the Lord. Chapter 6, verse 2. It was the priest's responsibility to make atonement. Atone for the person. And there are instructions. The priest shall offer the grain offering. Chapter 6, verse 4. Aaron and his son shall burn the fat on the altar. Chapter 7, verse 31. Again, they were also to keep the fire burning on the altar throughout. And this was hard work and required commitment. And so in Leviticus chapter 6, verse 8 to 10, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, command Aaron and his sons, saying, this is the law of the burnt offering. The burnt offering shall be on the hearth, on the altar all night until morning, and the fire of the altar shall be kept burning on it. Verse 12. The fire on the altar shall be kept burning on it. It shall not go out. The priest shall burn wood on it every morning, and he shall arrange the burnt offering on it, and shall burn on it the fat of the peace offering. Fire shall be kept burning on the altar continually. It shall not go out. And I say this is hard work and commitment. This is a responsibility the Lord is giving to the priest and his children, that make sure the fire doesn't go down. And so you can imagine the daunting task that is placed on the priest to ensure that this fire doesn't go down, doesn't go out. So even when you are sleeping, you have to come and check whether it is burning, because if it goes out, you have consequences. And that is hard work. And that requires commitment. Ministry is hard work and required selfless devotion and commitment throughout. So let us brace ourselves for this arduous task. Ministry is not a joke. Oh. The way you have dressed nicely, that is not ministry. Oh. Ministry is hard work. The fire must not go down. You must keep the fire burning throughout. Burning throughout. And we must keep ministry going throughout. Ministry is not a safe haven for lazy people. If you think where you are working, they are worrying you, the workload is too much, and let me come to Osofudie, you are in the wrong place. This ministry is hard work. It's hard work. So let us brace ourselves up to this task, which is ahead, believing that the Lord himself will reward faithfulness in our ministry. Though it is difficult, but the Lord, he will reward faithfulness. Again, the priests were to appear properly dressed for the sacrifices. These are things that the Lord placed at the disposal of the priest. They are supposed to dress properly for the sacrifices. So the Lord prescribed what they were to wear when performing a direct task and when performing ordinary roles. The Lord told them what to wear. So they could not just wear anything at all in the performance of their duties. So in chapter 6, verses 10 to 11, it reads, the priest shall put on his linen garment and put his linen garment, undergarment on his body. And he shall take up the ashes to which the fire has reduced and burnt offering on the altar and put them beside the altar. Then he shall take off his garment and put on other garment and carry the ashes outside the camp to a clean place. So what to wear to enter to collect the ashes, the Lord told them what to wear. They could not go there in pajamas or in any other thing because the Lord himself had prescribed what must be worn. And it's so interesting that what they were to go and take the ashes, they cannot run out to go and throw the ashes away in that same dress. They are to wear to take the ashes. Once they take the ashes, they are to put it somewhere and change and wear something different and send the ashes out. These things are no joke. Ministry is no joke. And this brings into sharp focus the need for us to wear our vestments. You are coming. Now when you see this clerical, you are yearning to have one. Very soon some of you will have one. But the fact is that for some people, once they have the clerical, sometimes you even have to force them to put on the clerical. Sometimes they have been ordained. And in the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, certain things must go with the gown. The gown that we wear is called preaching gown. Sometimes you go, people are ordained ministers, they are preaching without gown. They are just preaching without gown. For some of them, if you see them in gown, it means that there is an official program. He must of necessity wear the gown. That is why he is wearing. You see Presbyterian ministers conducting, typically in a Presbyterian Church of Ghana, a Presbyterian minister, when you are even doing outdoor naming ceremony, they are supposed to be in your gown. They are supposed to be in your gown. So for Aaron and his children, they could not discharge that small responsibility of collecting ashes with any other dress, but with a clearly prescribed dress by the Lord. I think it is time we revert to taking our vestments seriously. Gone are those days when a Presbyterian minister has only black and his gown. So you are everywhere in a gown. This time, by the grace of God, there are variations. Now we have cassock, with the gowns, we have two types. We have the beige, we have the black. So you can have both, though you need money to get them. You can have both, and then you are wearing beige for wedding, for special occasions, and your normal. I mean, we need to make the effort to wear the prescribed uniforms. We need to make the effort to wear the prescribed uniforms. Very soon we are going into our meditation. When we come back, I'll continue from here. But I want us to go reflecting on, beginning from bottom, restitution. Search your heart deeply and find out if there are people that you have offended, that they are around. For some of them, they are not talking to you. For some of them, you see, you have been able to, you have not apologized, but you are free with them. You can say that, oh, it's over. That's different. But there are some, they are around. Your sight makes them angry. When they see you, they are angry. You have a child somewhere. You haven't thought of going for him or her. Think through and see if there is guilt. Because once you don't feel guilty, restitution is useless. You must feel guilty and desire the Lord to forgive you, then restitution can become relevant. So you think through it and see if there is something of that nature. And then you also have to reflect on the man Moses to see all the things that we said about Moses, for which reason the Lord used him. You may want to pray through those things. He was very close to the Lord. So you ask yourself, what is my level of closeness to the Lord? The Lord spoke and he heard. But the question I'm asking you is, are you able to distinguish between God's voice and other voices? How close are you with the Lord? The Lord found him fit, very fit, and called him. What is your stand before the Lord? Does the Lord see you and I very fit? Does he see us very fit? If no, you can answer for yourself and I can answer for myself. But what is important is that if no, the arms of the Lord are still wide open, ready to receive us. Ready to receive us. Ready to receive us. Don't depend on what people are telling you when you yourself know deep down in your heart that things are not right with God. And you know things are not right with God. And ask yourself, how do you hear the Lord clearly? Ask him to deepen your level of intelligence. Not just going to school, but he should deepen your level of intelligence so the things he tells you, you'll be able to keep them. And how can you be trusted with the things of God to do God's bidding? How are you diligent? And how are you obeying and being committed to the instructions of God? These are areas that I want you to reflect as you go into solitude to reflect and to pray and to seek the face of the Lord. Let us pray. Shall we stand? Begin to reflect on the things that we have said. And ask yourself, how real are they with me? How real are they with me? Continue to meditate as you ask yourself, how close am I with God? How close am I that when He speaks, I hear? Do I hear Him when He speaks to me? And ask yourself, how fit are you before this God? Do I see myself fit, Lord? Or God, there are things that you need to take out of my life so I become very fit. Very fit. Reflect on these things. Can you be trusted to do the bidding of the Lord? How diligent have you been in the things of God? How diligent have you been in the things of God? And how obedient and committed have you been in your life? As you are preparing to exit and as you join to be trained, sorrow nefam bechem ako minyi na so no beti o sorrow nefa minyi na so no be sorrow nefam bechem minye na so no be. Tell God to draw you closer. Tell Him to draw you closer, into closer fellowship. Moses was very close to the Lord. And so when the Lord called him, he heard. All the things the Lord told him, he heard. Because he was close. Sometimes we are far away from God. He is calling, we are not hearing. He is instructing, we are not heeding. May the Lord draw us closer. May He draw you closer. May He draw you closer. Tell God, anything that obstructs your closeness with Him, may the Lord take it out. Anything that obstructs your closeness, sometimes television, sometimes football, sometimes other things, they take our attention from the Lord. So he's calling, we are not hearing. He's instructing, we are not hearing. May he take out of our lives any form of obstruction. Sometimes what obstructs us can be food. It can be food. Sometimes it can be work. May the Lord have mercy on us and take away anything that obstructs us from being closer to him. May the Lord draw us closer. May he draw us nearer, nearer, nearer to him. And may the Lord hold us to his side. May he never leave us to have our own way. Throughout ministry, may the Lord never leave us to have our own way. Because our own ways will lead us to death. May he hold us to his side. May he hold us to his side. May he hold us to his side. And as he holds us to his side, may he make us adamant to obstructions and distractions and things that will want to take us away from our God. Let us continue to pray, asking God to find us fit. May the Lord find us fit for every good work. May he find us fit to instruct. May he find us fit to give revelations. May the Lord find us fit in this ministry that he has called us. May he find us fit. May he find us fit. Fit for purpose. Fit for our calling. Fit for our ministry. Fit for the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. May the Lord find us fit. Anything that does not make us completely fit for his use, may the Lord purge us from them. Captain of Israel's host and guide of all who seek the Lamb above, knowing thy shadowy abide the sky of thy protect. Our strength, thy grace, thy rule, thou art, thou art, glory of our strength, thy grace, thy rule, thy end, the glory of. Continue to ask the Lord to always find you fit, just as he found Moses fit. May he always find us fit. If there be anything in our lives that prevents us from becoming fit to call to duty, may the Lord help us. May he help us. May he help us. Jesus. And we also realize that for Moses, he heard the Lord clearly and intelligently. All the things the Lord spoke to him about from chapter 1 through to chapter 7, Moses heard all of that. Every bit of it. None escaped him. He heard everything. He heard everything. We are asking God to help us, to grant us intelligence, to grant us retentive memory, to help us that we will be able to remember the things that he tells us. Sometimes God is revealing things to us. By the time we come to consciousness, we can't remember any of them. May the Lord help us. May the Lord help us. May he help us. Please sit and let's continue the prayer. May the Lord help us. May he help us to hear, to hear. May he give us a listening ear. Sometimes we have ears, but spiritually we don't hear anything. May the Lord connect our ears. May he activate our hearing antenna. May the Lord activate it. That we will hear him. We will hear him. That we will hear him. One of the worst things that can happen to a minister of the gospel is not to be hearing God's voice. You sleep, you eat, you wake up, you go, you are doing things normally. It's a serious thing that can ever happen to any minister of God, not to be hearing the voice of God. Tell God, God, I desire to hear you. Anytime you speak, anytime you want me for a conversation, Lord, my ears are wide open. Connect me. And grant me retentive memory. Tell God you have joined this ministry not to disappoint him, but to do his bidding. May he grant you grace. May he grant you grace that you will never be a disappointment to this God who has called you. That you always stand tall for him. That what he tells you, you will do it. May the Lord help us. May he help us. May He help us. May the Lord help us to be diligent, obedient, and committed to His call. Just as He told Moses, the things He told him, he was so diligent. He became obedient, and he committed to those things. May the Lord help us to be diligent. May He help us to be obedient. May He help us to commit to the things that He will tell us. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. The Papa Director will address a concern.